Hey everyone, P McGee here, joined with,
Dr. Geo?
and as discussed, we are here to bring you part 3 of our CLDL power rankings, this time talking about of course, the Master Larry division, which both Geo and myself are in. We're going to kind of
Oh
go through
yeah.
each team and break it down. I have promised Geo that we are not going to get anywhere close to the length of my video. We will keep it much more in tune with what he did in the Disciple rankings.
Oh, we'll keep it under an hour, I hope.
That is our goal here. There's a lot of fun teams we want to talk about here, and I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. So I don't know if you have anything else. Oh, yes, because I'm doing the lead off this time. I should probably make mention of it for once in a video that I do. That if you enjoy this type of content, please leave us a like, subscribe, come hang out with us on the Discord. We are, of course, in the middle or the beginning of our first season of the Cult of Larry Draft League, but we also have plenty of other content ongoing. We've got some low tier video or Pokemon analysis where we discuss some of the ways some low tier Pokemon can shine and some specific examples, with, of course, Larry and then Shred the Stud being our most recent ones. But yeah, we are here to bring you part 3, and I think that's what we'll get right into.
Yeah, alright, let's pop into it. Okay, first off, we're just going to go in draft order here. We have the Miami Delphox, coached by FackLuigi. We have a Dragapult, Lando T, Melmetal, Sylveon, Lilligant, Hisui, Mega Pidgeot, Blastoise, Drapion, Mesprit, and Flareon. And I always gotta check when it's one of the Lake Trio. The Mesprit, okay, this is the, like, Jack of all trades one.
Yeah, this is the middle ground one, where it can put out some damage, it can take some hits, it can pivot a little bit. The one I think, both don't like at all, and we've both tried doing stuff with unsuccessfully.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Okay, but so let's not worry about the low middle tier mons here. So what are we really working with? We have a Dragapult, Lando, Melmetal core.
Yes,
and that's
very
kind of scary.
Yeah,
actually, I like the Melmetal paired with the Sylveon, honestly, or even just with the Dragapult, like, because what does Dragapult switch it, like, force in? Usually these either bulky fairies or sometimes you can force in steel types, and decent punish for that between the Lando and the Melmetal. It falls apart a little bit if it's like a Celesteela. So I think, like, so we're talking like 3 mods here where we have the steel flying types. I think that's the biggest worry because those will also wall out the Lilligant.
Yep. And he doesn't have an electric, which is notable for trying to break some of those flying types down, especially the steel flying. And his fire is his,
Flareon.
cheapest. Is his cheapest. And I see where Flareon's going to have value on this team. This team is not overly fond of ice, especially special ice, just because Melmetal doesn't tank that as well. And if it's something like Freeze Dry, Blastoise isn't doing anything against that either. So something like Kyurem is really dangerous to this team, and so something like Flareon maybe has windows there to help manage that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Melmetal can still rock the Assault
AV
Vest
sets,
too.
yeah.
Then it don't mind too much.
But that's a really scary power trio right there, where they're just like trying to switch into any of those is very difficult, and 2 of them can just pivot right back out into something like Melmetal or this Hisui and Lilligant that he has, which I think is going to be really interesting to see in play.
Yeah, I want to see how this one works out. But I think flying types are going to be a little tough. I know Dragapult has like electric coverage and stuff, but it's still just going to be a little bit tough. The Drapion's is a nice pick, especially since this is a Pursuit League. It's totally happy to switch in and start launching off those pursuits.
Yep. And then I think Blastoise is a really essential pickup here because his hazard control is a little lackluster. I mean, Pidgeot's not going to be a reliable defogger. It can, just because it's basically only ever using Hurricane and Heat Wave as attacks, so there's room to slot it in there. And then Lando doesn't always want to be defensive, so Blastoise offers a really essential piece of hazard control so that he's not overly bothered.
So that's a pretty nice thing. Got the Cleric and Sylveon, which Melmetal really appreciates.
Oh yeah.
Getting a nice 40% chunk back from Sylveon. Usually.
Absolutely.
Could be 50%.
It's interesting. I think Sylveon will do well on this team because it's enabled to run special defense much more because you got Landorus and Melmetal to tank physical attacks. And if, breaking especially defensive Sylveon with special attacks is a really tough challenge. So
Yeah.
I could see this being a really tough team to break down. And then he's got enough breakers and, heavy hitters to push on offense pretty easily.
Yeah, so I like it. I think it's lacking a little bit, and it has decent pivot options, but I really am missing out on an electric type here. I think that's my only real knock.
Yeah. Just breaking flying types is a little, you're using non-stab attacks to break flyings for most of these Pokemon. So if they're fat flyings, it's going to be tough to push through a few of them.
Yeah, so I'm gonna probably mark this as like, what do you want here? I'm gonna give it like an 8-7.
I think that's right where I am. And I know, the way Fact plays, he'll navigate these issues largely without concern, but it's something to take note of, especially something like Skarmory will be a real pain to push through.
Right. Did Skarmory even get drafted? I have no idea. Maybe.
I have no idea.
Okay, let's see here. Coming up next, we have Queen Eileen of the Mad Hatterines. It just rolls off the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
We have Urshmoney, Clefable, Slowking, Galar, Mega Blastoise, Goodra, Hisui, Audino, Sarina, Thundurus Therian, Doug Trio, and Rapidash.
This is a scary fat team. Like, this is tough to break, but all of its fat pieces, with the exception of Audino, can also push on offense in a pretty effective manner.
Mega Blastoise
We've seen
is one
rapid
spin away from outspeeding the field too, usually.
Yeah, I mean it's got a good enough speed stat where a rapid spin will get it to where it needs to get to.
But this is a like typical stall team where you've got the Doug Trio to just kind of clean up, Like,
oh, absolutely.
This is remember, Shed Shell is an item if you come up against this team, because that may be
which is good for her because she needs to force people to not run Rocky Helmets all the time, especially some of the fat steels and fairies. If you can deny their ability to run Rocky Helmet because they don't want to get trapped by Doug Trio, then Urshifu is a little more enabled to click buttons like it likes to do. So
yeah.
Doug Trio is an interesting pickup for a team like this that just wants to click a button, and opponents want to be able to manage that with an item, and Doug Trio kind of helps stop that. So I think that'll work well for her.
I really kind of like this. This is the stalliest team. The only thing I wish it had a little more of is a little more hazards for how stally it is, but
yeah,
I mean, you get your rocks up, I guess, and just kind of hope, even just a spiker or a T-spiker. You don't even necessarily need both, but just the extra layer here would really go a long way.
I like the Goodra on this team. I think that'll be a really, from the little action we've seen of the Hisui and Goodra so far, it's already shining as you can't break me, but I can actually do a lot of damage to you with acid spray and coverage. So
it's don't let the dragon typing fool you. It seems like a very good anti-Fairy-mon, and that's what this Urshifu's all about. Between the Slowking and the Goodra, it's gonna be in a happy place. There's also some surprise offense coming from this team because the Thundurus can set up, Rapidash can set up. I think people may be surprised if Queen changes gears and decides not to go so passive 1 week. But it's
this isn't a team you can look at and say I'm at a stall. This isn't a stall team. This looks like a stall team, but it can be very, very hyper offensive because basically everything with the exception of Audino can scream damage if it wants to scream damage, which is scary.
And even things like the Blastoise in theory can, you don't want to because it's Mega Launcher, but you could even go physical there, and those flip turns start to hurt,
Oh, absolutely.
Sarina loves being scarfed. That may be kind of a little complaint, is we have a big gap from 97 to 78. So some of the speedier teams are gonna probably just be able to, play through this team, and some of these speeds are pretty low, 78 down to 50 in 5 months. It's a minor complaint, but
There are a couple of
it
scary
seems pretty
matchups.
abusable.
Yeah.
Like if the right team comes around. It's got the cleric options, but I would say like just the lack of hazards for what this team wants to do and how it's switching around and forcing switches. It's my biggest complaint. The removal options are okay. Thunderous has it. Two spinners.
Blasters and Serena is pretty good. I mean, those are both
I think these
pretty
are
solid breaks.
those are fine. So it's nice to have something other than Mega Blastoise, just so like you can run boots on Serena if you want. Because Blastoise just he can't run boots. He's got to hold his Mega Stone.
Exactly.
So, where would you put this team?
I mean, it's got to be at least an 8.5 to me. It can maybe creep a little higher. I think it's really, it's going to be a hard team to prep against. It's one of those ones that can really whip out anything on a moment's notice and surprise you. So
yeah, I think this team's largely coach dependent. It depends how aggressive Queen wants to play it. If Queen plays it too passively, it's going to get run over. But if she can balance the right amount of aggression with it, then it's going to be an absolute menace.
Yeah. I think the Audino could probably be swapped out in the end because she has a Wisher with Clefable. I feel like Audino's a little redundant. Maybe something could go there that offers more hazard play just to fit the mold of the team better. But other than that, I don't have any major.
Yeah, that's all I got. All right, coming up next, we have your team, Mr. McGee, the Po-Town Poikumukus.
Yeah.
What do you got?
So I drafted the Landorus this season because it was the best mon available at third, and then somehow Mega Mawile made it late round 2, so I said, why not? I won't drop it this time around. So I picked up that. Slowbro, Cinderace, Umbreon, Roserade, Como-O, Vikavolt, Frostless. I don't usually do 9-mon teams. This is very abnormal for me. I like to have a lot of pieces to work with. So only running 9 is new territory for me, but I saw the stupid breaking power of those top 2, and I just figured I would fill in pieces to support those as best as possible, clear up a few speed tiers, and just try to pressure really hard with that breaking power and just enough alternative options. Because Slowbro feeds nicely into either of them. Either as a teleporter, offers the Trick Room option for Mega Mawile, which I think is nice. Cinderace is a really essential speed tier. And my team does not have good hazard control. I debated if I should do something about that or just let it be. My thought in the end
have defog?
I mean, I got defog Vikavolt. Landorus is.
It's not showing up.
I know
from. That's all. But
yeah, I know. So I basically decided I'm not gonna have strong hazard control, but I'm gonna put my opponents in a tough spot. Yeah, and I'm gonna tell them, Cinderace can court change on a moment's notice, and I love using Cinderace. I love running court change. So it's more of put hazards at your own, your own risk. And my team isn't
like you say you don't have hazard control. You've got the best hazard control mon in the game of Cinderace. Like court change is a menace. It's just
so. As long as I bring that a couple of times, it turns into, do I actually want to put hazards up against this team, or are they going to come back and bite me and not be worth my time? So, if I can establish that early with Cinderace, I feel like my team isn't going to be dealing with that much hazard play, and I have plenty of hazards to work with.
Oh yeah,
Mega Mawile can do it. I've done it with Landorus. Como can rocks. I get spikes. I get T-spikes. I get sticky webs, which I think is fun, especially for Landorus, not so much for Mega Mawile.
No, yeah, this is even Cinderace, like, to stop any opposing Scarfers, like, it's super nice. Como really appreciates them too. Nice 85 speed. And the 80s and above all really love webs on the field because then it, really frees them up to be a lot more offensive.
Exactly, and I think my team enables Como to do really well here because Como usually struggles with some of the bulkier fairies, but this team pressures fairies really, really hard. Like a fairy is like a lot of bulky fairies are very passive, and you don't want to get Mega Mawile that turn. And then Landorus gets Sludge Wave too, so like I have 3 really scary pieces that can smack, and Cinderace gets Gunk Shot, so I have 4 things that can smack fairies pretty hard, which makes them hard to check Como, and so many resources have to go to dealing with Landorus and Mega Mawile that I think Como, with all its versatility, has a lot of opportunity on this team to shine. I'll be curious to see if I can succeed with that.
Como looks like the cleaner for this team. Like you'll spend the first 25 turns breaking with Lando and Mega Mawile, let him be sacked, and then Como comes in. He's like, well, I'm gonna end this game.
Yeah, click Dragon Dance, click Clangorous Soul, whatever the right circumstance is, just go for that button and try to wrap it up. So I am excited about that. Frostless, we'll see what happens with Frostless. It's mostly a speed tier, I'll be honest. But
I mean, Frostless is a mon that comes to 10% of games because it either has the matchup or it doesn't. You've got some utility.
And there's a couple in here where it might make sense.
Yeah, you've got some utility you can play around with for it, like the spikes, and you can run either or. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's like got 80 in both. It's decently hard enough between Poltergeist and Triple Axle. But, okay,
so we'll see how it goes. Yeah, we don't need to rank it because my score is going to be a 10 because I'm biased. I think it's a perfect team, but which obviously means nothing. I'll probably go 2 and 7 with it.
I gave you a 1.
That's because I'm number 1. That's fair.
Okay. So coming up next is Sparky's team, and Jesus Christ, this team.
I know this team is.
I shouldn't curse, but like Sneasler, Corviknight, Rillaboom, Victini, Dracovish, Regieleki, Zoroark, Primarina, Charjabug, Trapinch, and Palossand.
This team is cancer, and like a really scary. Like there are so many things to check, which is why this Zoroark is going to do so well on this team. I think because Sneasler forces dedicated switch-ins, Rillaboom forces dedicated switch-ins, Victini forces dedicated switch-ins, Dracovish forces dedicated switch-ins, Regieleki forces dedicated switch-ins. All 5 of those require a very obvious switch-in to manage them, and Zoroark can exploit that super well. So disregard the type chart, disregard the speed tiers. This team is going to be an absolute pain. Because this team is just all mind games. Like, do I switch in my obvious switch in to manage this Victini that's probably to click V-Create, or is that actually a Zoroark about to hit Shadow Ball? So maybe I shouldn't bring my Slowbro in because it's going to get eviscerated.
Oh, it actually is an Overgrow Rillaboom this week. Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Just what we need.
This is going to be a super hard team to play against, and you know it's all on Sparky to make it work. Obviously, that the playstyle he's opting for is going to rely entirely on the coach's ability to execute it.
I mean, we'll keep real here. Speed tiers are fine. Has like no real hazards. Charjabug and Palossand, that doesn't count. So I can't actually score this team. My brain's too small. So you're getting 3. You're getting 3 check marks, Sparky.
I'm scared of this team. I'm not looking forward to playing
I'm actually
going to
give this a 9. I think this is what Draft League is really about. Like, this is breaking the mold, and I'm going to give it a 9.5 until
I think
I can.
For what he is going for,
this is what I want. This is what I want Draft League to really be like, breaking the mold of what, like, oh, you need the bulky water, you need your cores. No, this is like, all right, I'm going to find some weird synergy strategy in which to actually just win games, and like you're starting from how am I going to win games and kind of work your way back to what mons enable that. And I know that you probably didn't have this thought out like going into it. He's just picking mons and then the strategy developed. But this is what I really enjoy Draft League to be, is this kind of nonsense shenanigans that just work instead of this is not your typical mold of a team.
No, we can't grade it like one. It's just it's well beyond the norm, but he drafted exactly to what the game plan is. Like it's pretty clear and apparent what he's going for. So you just, and in terms of drafting to that game plan, this is basically a perfect draft as far as I can see. So that's super scary, and I do not look forward to running into this team. And he's got Trapinch too, just for like some random matchup where the Dark or the Psychic is a pain, and he's like, nah, Trapinch will trap this and kill it with a banded first impression. So,
let's go.
Oh my god.
Okay, coming up next we have Claude 9. He has the Garchomp, the Mega Scizor, Tapu Fini, Spectrier, Bellissey, Rotom Fan, Persian Alolan, Celebi, Weezing, Arcanine, Hisui, and Crabominable.
I'll be honest, I'm excited to see Crabominable. I haven't seen it drafted before. I'm excited to see if he ever brings us to a match.
I was going to say the same thing. I'm like, I don't think I've seen him used before because what is his typing?
I know. I mean, it resists nothing. It resists, I think, ice
and dark. Hooray! Oh, and bug.
So, I mean, it's
Cool.
not a good typing.
I'm actually looking right now to like even just look at its stats, and okay, it's got
It's
HP.
maxed. It's got an HP and it's got an offense.
Alright, cool.
But for the real team here, Garchomp, Mega Scizor, Fini, a really strong combination.
Yeah, I've seen that a couple times before, and it's really good.
Solid. I wish there was a fighting type on this team to push through darks a little easier sometimes, because Fini doesn't get a lot of opportunities.
Right?
Yeah, it doesn't get opportunities, and then Scizor, same issue. They're both really slow, and so they don't always get the opportunities to push through some of the fat darks because they pivot out.
Yeah, Garchomp kinda can, but it's like you gotta get the doubles really, I think, to really take advantage of it, because he's gonna get worn down too. Blissey is a nice special wall. So you've got Blissey to be your special wall here. Fini goes both ways. Scizor goes both ways. But I mean, it's Mega Scizor, so I always feel it's a little bit of a lost opportunity when it's being one of your balls for that week.
Exactly. He's got Weezing to help, which I think is
Weezing will
nice.
help. Celebi's a nice pickup for this team. I think, especially like with the Weezing and some of these other, like the Weezing especially, to shore up that ×4 weakness to bug. I think the Celebi's a nice pickup. That's a surprising amount of like special offense.
Yeah.
Run into the issue of like steel types again. I'm not sure what.
Yeah.
I don't think Celebi has all that much to deal with steels. Hopefully Arcanine
It has Earth
can
Power.
Okay, so that's not nothing. But
yeah. I think my major qualm, like my only real qualm with the team, is that he doesn't have a reliable special attacker. Obviously, if Spectrier has the matchup, Spectrier is great, but Spectrier, especially in a Pursuit League, is going to struggle some weeks to get that matchup, because if the dark gets Pursuit, then Spectrier can't touch the field until that dark is out of play. Otherwise, the dark switches in on it, Pursuit traps it, and that's it for Spectrier. Fini can be scary. It can set up. Celebi can do the same, but they're not reliable.
If they don't have the matchup, they'll never have the opportunity to set up.
Garchomp's like the best, most reliable breaker sweeper type on the team. Scizor can, but Scizor usually needs to remove some steel types from play, maybe some fire types as well, before it can really pop off. So Garchomp's the easiest button clicker I think the team has.
The removal options are also a bit limited on this team. Like, Rotom Fan's the only one that really enjoys having defog. Fini can, Scizor can, but they don't necessarily want to, like...
No, I've run defog Mega Scizor. Like, it just doesn't feel great. I mean, it's fine. Like, defog, roost, U-turn, bullet punch, but that means it's not breaking that game. It's just kind of in a pivot.
It's Scizor. It's normal Scizor at that point. Like, it's just normal Scizor without lefties. And it's okay, it just doesn't, like you said, it doesn't feel great. And same thing with Fini. Fini has such a great move pool. Sticking defog just feels bad. Yeah. And you're getting rid of your own terrain, so you're not protected anymore. And so getting status on Fini feels really bad.
I can see Rotom Fans slotting into this team decently, because I don't think Crabominable, Arcanine, or Alolan Persian are going to be reliable weekly rings. So there's more opportunities to slot the Rotom Fan, so he may have
it's one of the
better
best
defog access.
Pivot options too. So it's fine. Like, Rotom Fan, it's fine to, especially now that boots are a thing, it's fine to run defog, but like this is your removal option. So good luck.
Yep.
But like that's really kind of the only thing. Like, hazards are fine. Like, Blissey's always going to be able to get rocks up, or a Chomp, and Celebi has them too. It doesn't. You have T-spikes, you don't have spikes. That all seems fine.
Yeah, it's adequate enough hazards.
But yeah, the lack of a special attacker and poorish removal options are kind of my knocks. So I'm gonna put this at what, an 8.5?
I think an 8's probably fair.
8. Okay. Some people probably think these scores mean anything other than arbitrarily ranking them against each other.
Yeah.
I
want to give it a higher score for the Crabominable. Like, I want to give it a boost for that, but I got to prove Crabominable shows up. Yeah. If Crabominable comes more than twice, then this is an 8.5 team to me.
It has an impact.
That's fair. It does get Pursuit. I actually want to mention that it does get Pursuit.
Okay.
So I'll be interested to see if he ever pursuit traps something with Abominable, because that'll be amazing.
Pursuit trap Spectre. Oh wait.
Yeah. So if he pulls off the pursuit trap, then like 8.5, this is a great team again.
Yeah.
But I gotta see it.
All right. So next we have the team Dick and Balls from Frosteye, and it's got the Deoxys Speed, the Zoroark, Hisui, Suicune, Crobat, Silvally, Klefki, Incineroar, Whimsicott, Mega Garchomp, and Rotom, the good one.
So I'll say right off the bat, I'm actually really intrigued by this Hisui and Zoroark Deoxys Speed pairing, because Zoroark can click moves that Deoxys has while baiting in ghost types to try to deal with Deoxys, or some types that maybe Zoroark can abuse a little bit. You know, because I think it gets Flamethrower. It gets Flamethrower as well, so it might bait in bug types or things like that, and you could really exploit thinking it's Deoxys Speed, but actually it's Hisui and Zoroark. Because it can click Nasty Plot like Deoxys Speed can, it can click Shadow Ball like Deoxys Speed can. I'll be interested to see if it can take advantage of some bad switch-ins thinking they're going against Deoxys Speed. I'm really intrigued by that.
I'd like to see that too. This isn't a knock on the team, because like it's just the Mons themselves, but look at the HP stats on these Mons.
Ooh.
That's pretty low, but I mean, it's whatever. Some of these Mons are tanky in spite of the HP stat, not because of. This is an odd team to me though. Suicune's a bit passive, like especially when like your poison type isn't grounded. So like removal's fine on this team. Like he's got removal 6 ways to Sunday. Like if you want hazards gone, they're gonna be gone. But this isn't another, like, Sparky's vision for his team's pretty clear. This one, not as much, but you know, it's got good pivot options, I feel. So you're gonna be able to get the Chomp in, and you're gonna be able to get the Zoroark in. I think
Chomp might struggle a bit because he needs to break fairies a lot of the time for Mega Chomp to really pop off. And his fairy killers are Crobat, which can be in the right situations, and Klefki, which will never be a great fairy breaker. So he's going to struggle to get those super effective hits on a couple of those fairies.
I think Chomp's usually fine enough getting rid of fairies, and Silvally can do it. You can always go steal.
That's
Silvally.
True. There is Silvally. Yeah, I forgot about Silvally. That's true.
I think it's got the pieces. I mean, this could just be my poor vision here. I fail to see some of the synergy on the team outside of like the first 2 picks, and just seems like a get Chomp in, click the buttons, and hope for the best.
Yeah, this game seems very determined to feed into Chomp, Deoxys, or Zoroark to do damage, because Suicune needs time, Crobat needs time, Silvally just generally doesn't break, Klefki isn't breaking anything, and Incineroar rarely goes offensive. It can, but it rarely does. Whimsicott's not really Whimsicott's trying to do weird things with like Switcheroo or a Leech Seed or something like that.
I mean, I will say this team's probably gonna get Rocks and Spikes up just about every match.
Mm-hmm.
And having both of those up really makes breaking teams a lot easier too. I'm gonna probably score this as like an 8-1.
Yeah, I really wish he had a Rapid Spinner
this is gonna be a 7-9 actually.
That's fine. I think a 7-9 is fair. I wish he had a Rapid Spinner, because I see this team and the first thing I want to do is just toss out T-Spikes against it every week, because Deoxys isn't running boots, Zoroark's not running boots, Suicune's not running boots, Garchomp can't, Whimsicott won't, Silvally can't. So T-Spikes hurt this team, and he's forced to defog, which means he can't really hazard stack all that well. So I could see some T-Spike play being annoying for him to deal with, just because he can't get his own hazards up without dealing with those first, and he can't pivot into a lot of his pieces.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
But he has good defog. I don't see those being an issue in terms of removal. He can remove those, like you said, 6 ways to Sunday with all of the defog he has. It's just they turn into a nuisance. Yeah. So I think a 7-9 is fairly accurate.
Alright, so up next we have Huitku, the Alberta Surge. He has the Tapu Koko, the Kyurem, Gyaptos, Nidoking, Zarude, Bronzong, Mega Audino, Rotom Wash, Colossal, and Talonflame.
I love how much this team enables Coco to not have to deal with ground types. Ground types do not want to play against this team because
oh my god, the Rude, the Rotom, the Kyurem.
The Nidoking probably can pack Ice Beam if it wants. So the thing that is most annoying to Coco,
that kind of counts, but not really, because you gotta watch out. You can never switch Nido into a ground type.
No. But I mean, the thing that makes it tough for Coco is Coco struggles to click electric moves while the ground type's in play, especially if the ground type isn't bothered by Grass Knot. You know, if it has a secondary typing that neutralizes Grass Knot, or it's just not a very big mon, it doesn't care that much.
Then, like, Coco's special attack's not all that high. So
no, it's a 95. But if Coco's enabled to click, you know, Specs Volt Switch or Specs Thunderbolt or Specs Dazzling Gleam all game because the ground type isn't viable in the matchup, then Coco is really tough to deal with, and he has so many pieces to let Coco shine, which is interesting.
Yeah. So one thing that sticks out to me is like these speed tiers here. Like after 85, it just like falls off a rock.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
So that can be abusable by like your 70 and 60 speed tiers, where like they get to be tanky and hit hard.
Yeah, something like Mamoswine's really tough for the team like this because Mamoswine has almost no incentive to run any speed because
it's still gonna outspeed the Mega Audino, and
yep.
Like luckily though, like for that mon in particular, you have Bronzong, so it's like it's fine. It just comes in. It's like, well, you're gonna knock off my lefties, and then I'm gonna stare at you and gyro ball. You're not running any speed, so it's not gonna do all that much damage. But you know, we're gonna just look at each other.
Yeah.
But like,
his hazard control is really, really good. You know, he's got reliable defog on the Talonflame and the Rotom Wash. Niche and the Coco, that doesn't matter. And then he's got spins with Colossal, and Colossal is a pretty good spinner when it does show up to matches.
Yeah, Colossal's so tanky. Like you see the 2 × 4 on Cole, but it's like I don't know. I've never really worried about that, and it's another flame body. So like the 2 flame bodies may. Like you're never gonna see Talon and Cole come to the same match, I feel, but
no,
like
and they have situational value.
Yeah, and he's got the offense that Talonflame never has to run a single EV and like attack. He's like totally fine to just be utility every week. Like switch in, throw off some Toxics, Roosts, return out. Let's go.
I mean, the first 5 can all break super well, and those are all very difficult to plan around.
Yeah, I really like the Gyaptos with the Coco. It just feels like such a great way to get rid of, you know, what each other don't like. You know, like what's switching into Gyaptos? Usually not much.
No. And then he's got a lot of momentum to really enable Kyurem to be a button spammer, and then Nidoking to get free safe entry opportunities because Coco pivots, Zapdos pivots, Zarude pivots, Rotom Wash pivots, Talonflame pivots, so he can get his Nidoking in often.
Yeah, one day Bronzong will be able to pivot with Teleport.
Teleport? Too. Yeah, that'll be the sight to see.
12-point mon incoming, let's go. But yeah, the Rotom Wash, this is a super solid team. I think this is really, really nice. I don't really have any faults other than the bottom half of the speed tiers, but that's relatively minor, all things considered.
Yeah, it's minor. I think the only other qualm I have is he has a few typing redundancies. You know, double electric, double normal, or double fairy, double fire. You know, some
would have been manageable nice though.
It's all manageable because the electrics aren't sharing a weakness. The fires are, but they're never both coming. They're both lower tier, so it shouldn't be an issue. But it's a small thing.
I'm gonna score this as a 925.
I think that's fair.
I really like it. I think it's good.
I do too. I play it week 1, so we'll find out tomorrow how good it is.
Okay. There we go. Coming up next is the Drive-By Drafters, coached by Chris04. We have an Enamorus, a Zeraora, a Latios, Ferrothorn, Toxapex, Mandibuzz, Donphan, Porygon, Larry, and Alolan Marowak. So
I was very happy someone picked up Larry because I was not going to get it, and I was worried that in the top division he was going to sit on the board. So I'm really, really happy to see he got picked up.
Yes.
Even if he makes no sense next to the Toxapex, I'm still happy he's on a team.
He's like Toxapex, except he can be toxic.
True.
So, okay. Does anything get Trick Room other than Porygon?
I don't believe so. Maybe Latios, but like it's a weird move to run on Latios.
Okay, because I was just wondering, because like that's like I feel like you need Trick Room for Alolan Marowak. Like that really enables it.
Yeah.
Like, so the speed tiers on this team are doo-doo.
Yeah.
Like 3 above 100, 180, and then 50 and
Garbage.
below. But like this is like an OU team, man. Latios, Ferrothorn, Zeraora, Toxapex, Mandibuzz. Let's go. Like,
and he has a habit of drafting Genie Zeraora. Like he's done this before, and he did this in MLP once and went 8-0 with that team. So like, I'm scared of him with Genie plus Zeraora. He plays that combination pretty well.
Yeah,
so
he
doesn't have Lando, but he has an Amorous, so same deal basically.
Except for an Amorous can't pivot.
True. Which is okay. I mean, actually, his pivoting isn't that great, honestly.
No, it's Mandibuzz and Zeraora.
The regular brings Pyukmuka when it shows up, and then, you know, the 1 or 2 matches Porygon comes to, it'll probably have teleport, but that's it. A lot of static walls.
But, I mean, that's what Pex and Ferrothorn are. Chris is good enough, he can kind of manage that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's up to his ability as a coach to be able to get an Amorous in, because I mean, you get an Amorous in enough times and just launch off some Moonblasts, and you're gonna be feeling fine.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a Chansey on your side, on the other side of the field, like you're having a hard time switching in on an Amorous. So every opportunity he gives that to click a button is pretty scary. Same with Latios. Zeraora can do a lot after a bulk up or a Calm Mind, depending on the set. I think my qualm is that his 3 best attackers aren't particularly bulky, and he doesn't have a lot of great momentum to get them on the field safely.
Yeah.
So I feel like that could be an issue, where he wants to get those breakers on, but there's no safe way to do it, and he might end up losing pieces to try to make it happen and using them as revenge killers.
Which just could work. It could win games. I'm just not vibing with it. I'm gonna probably score this as an 8-3. Like I like the top 3 mons. Those are pretty dope, and then it kind of falls off. And that's maybe even
it's just like a lot of defense. I mean, it's a lot of fat at that point. It's 5 straight fat picks, and then at a Alolan Marowak, I'm not confident he's going to be able to get a lot out of. Maybe he will.
I really want to see it. Like if he brings Trick Room Porygon and like gives that a chance, or I want to see it do well. I'm just not sure yet. Alright, I switch it to 8-1, that's fine. Okay, next we have...
Tell us what you're doing with your team.
My team, we have the Mega Glade, Gliscor, Rotom Heat, Melodic, Registeel, Rabombi, Alolan Muck, Dredagon, Shaman, Komala, and Shelmet. Alright, so my idea with this team is I finally get to draft Mega Glade, which is my team's
I know. It's only took you like 15 seasons, but you finally have it.
Yeah, so I kind of just paired this with either defensive things, actually just a lot of defense, other than the Rotom Heat and the Shaman, I guess. And the whole idea is just get Mega Glade into click buttons as much as we can. Everything else has its role in a defensive department. We have some webs on Rabombi, and Shelmet is a meme, but he does technically have spikes, so really it's just a Stealth Rock team. I've got decent.
And you have the ability to use Gliscor as a knockoff absorber so that your Shelmet can actually play in some matchups and be like Shelmet. If you can't knock it off as the opponent, you can't take off the EV-Elite from the Shelmet. It's actually like a real nuisance to get through sometimes. So I could see that being fun.
Yeah, it is a real option, but I think like where this team's lacking is in the special attacking department. Like, it's really Shaman and Rotom. Melodic doesn't count.
No.
So
I think Spec Shaman has opportunities here to really pop off, just because a lot of Steels struggle in this against this team because Glade pressures them. Your top 3 mons all pressure Steel pretty hard.
Yeah.
Which is one of the harder things for Shaman to push through.
Like I'm glad someone pointed out Shaman to me on the board when we were getting to the end there, because I'm like, I need what's left that's any value. So Shaman's neat. The Alolan Muck's really Pursuit Trapper dreads for the specific matchups. So
Alolan Muck fits this team really nicely too because ghosts, especially speedy ghosts want a revenge on Mega Gallade. Things like Dracopult or Spectrier, Chandelure, Blacephalon, all those kind of want to come in on Mega Gallade and try to start sweeping with it. But then you got this Alolan Muck that really makes it difficult for all those pieces. So
yeah,
I like it on this team a lot.
I like the idea of this team. We'll see how it ends up shaking out because it's a little passive. Like if Mega Gallade dies, it's going to be hard for this team to make progress against the defensive pieces. Like there's just not a lot of breaking power.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
I see SD Gliscor showing up a couple times for you at least.
Yeah,
I think that
learned,
can definitely pop off.
I learned some lessons last time I drafted it to like with Gliscor, so it does so many things to really kind of get some redundancies in on like some of the defensive side, the defogging side, the rocking side. You don't have to bring rocks and defog on your Gliscor, so it can really just open it up.
Yeah, and you have really good defense. Like you have a lot of defense with Rotom, Melodic, Registeel, Muckalolan, Druddigon. So I see offensive Gliscor being very, very viable for you.
Yeah, I'm going to score this team as a 1.01 because I get to score, so I get to be higher than you.
That's fair. I can't argue the logic.
All right, let's move on. So coming up next, we have Katz's team, Flight Club. We have the Mega Deontay, Hydreigon, Aegislash, Mineshow, Hisui, Bravery, Raikou, Moltres, Vaporeon, Illumise, Sandaconda, and Kecleon.
It's weird to me that Sandaconda got drafted twice in this league. I know it got dropped already by the team Initiate, but it was just weird to me that the spawn almost never comes off the board. And I was talking to Sparky about it because Sparky actually wanted the Sandaconda for once. And then all of a sudden it's a popular low tier ground type this draft, which was really peculiar.
Yeah, I've never
sorry,
seen
that was my one little
before.
tangent on a low tier. I know, it almost never comes off the board and all of a sudden it's popular. So we'll see if she brings it because I don't think it's very
like
good.
I feel like it should have glare, but it doesn't.
It does.
Oh,
it does.
Okay. I mean, good. It's a glare bot.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look. Look at this Fairy Dragon Steel Core of Mega Deontay, Hydreigon, and Aegislash. Ooh. I know I was harping on the Aegislash being a bad mon and the Disciple. I still feel that. But it doesn't have to do things on this team. It can come in, soak hits, and just like fire out. Like you don't need to navigate it all that well on this team, especially. You're happy to just throw specs on it and like get some damage out, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And it has Pursuit as an option to play with too for some psychic trapping. So that will be interesting. Not that psychics have a great matchup against this team overall. There's only Mienshao to hit with a psychic attack for good damage, but
yeah.
It's not a great typing, but like it has that. So it has more utility in a league like this, and I think it meshes decently well with with Mega Deontay. It definitely vibes with Hydreigon. They really play off each other well.
Yeah,
with
that's a pretty cool combo. I like both of them together. Good speed tiers too. Mineshow really fits this team as well. Like it'll be zooming in and out with some U-turns. If anything, the rocks are a little hard to come by. Like Mega Deontay can run them, sure, and you will, but it means you're giving up something, whether that's a rock polish or a little extra coverage. Who knows? But you may not need it. Hydreigon's got such a wide move pool, and you've got like the Moltres and the Raikou in the back too. If anything, this team's lacking some physical presence outside of the Mineshow.
Yeah, I mean Mega Deontay it has the play rough and Diamond Storm. It's not usually the way you want to run Mega Deontay. You definitely tend to lean more towards special.
Yeah, Hydreigon can too in certain matchups.
Yeah.
It's got Crunch, Earthquake, Outrage. It can too. So it's not like this team doesn't have physical options. I want to see the Bravery used well. I hope it kind of pops off.
I'm very intrigued by it, and I think, with the Magic Bounce Diancie and Moltres being a reliable defogger, I think the Hisuian Bravery will have enough cleric control where it's not always trapped into boots, and it can you really run that Life Orb Sheer Force combo and smack things around. So I'll
Yeah.
be really interested in that.
This is a super solid team. This is like a
Yeah,
just
I think my only other
checks
qualm with
most of
it
the
is that
boxes.
Electric Spam could be a trouble for this team because Sandaconda isn't a reliable bring. Raikou doesn't have great bulk, so Hydreigon is very pressured to keep Electric Spam in check, and something like Zeraora is really tough on this team.
But like,
to
yeah,
deal
and
with.
any electric type that also gets the coverage for Hydreigon is going to be tough. But like, other than that, outside of that, like Hydreigon could even be happy running an AV set, and you know you've got Vaporeon to give pretty reliable wishes to it.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm gonna score this as like an 8-6.
I think that's about right.
Yeah, it's a little better than some of the teams we've seen, but it still just lacks a little bit. It covers like all the boxes, save for some hazards and some.
Yeah.
Can't handle, like the ground type is a little weak. There's no grass Pokemon on this team.
No, there's not. I mean, I don't. Maybe they would have helped with like for
And
that
no
electric
poison
spam.
type either. So, the hazard control seems fine enough with it. That I think you can navigate the T-spikes well enough, and so many things could just run boots too if you're shown to be spamming.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I don't see it being an issue. Hydreigon's not gonna bothered by T-spikes. Aegislash isn't bothered. Braviary isn't bothered. Moltres isn't bothered. So it's very
It
navigable.
can be a little spooky to throw them up too with Mega Deontay around. Depending on the mod throwing it up, like Mega Deontay's probably not switching into many poison types. Unless it's a normal. Never mind. Getting off on a tangent. Let's keep moving on. Next we have Epix. And this is the derivative solving Dracovish, which I had to really reduce the size of the text so it may be hard to read. It's so long. This is Mew, Mega Aerodactyl, Infernape, Weavile, Enamorous Therian, Empoleon, Hippowdon, Dracozolt, Vileplume, and Purugly.
Yeah.
I remember the jokes in chat on this team is like, yes, I drafted Sand for my Mega Aerodactyl, so now it takes 2 Scalds to kill instead of only 1.
I'm generally pretty low on sand cores in draft. I don't find a lot of teams take off with them, at least in Gen 8. I don't find them to be as effective in Gen 8. So I'll be interested to see if he's able to make something happen with that core, but I'm not overly optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of runs into the same issue. At least this team has like 3 really good fighting soaks for like, because that's usually how you beat Sand, is you just slap a choice band in close combat until everything dies. But you get like the Vileplume, so happy to take close combat. So is Enamorous. Aerodactyl can kind of, but the Mew can. So plenty of hazard options between the Empoleon and the Hippowdon. Like, you're always going to get rocks up. Mew doesn't have to run rocks. Mew can run spikes and T-spikes, but whatever. You can do whatever you want. A little poor on the momentum options to get like Mega Arrow in, but
yeah, this team actually does not pivot well at all, which is really unfortunate for Weavile, especially because Weavile likes to get those safe entry opportunities. It doesn't want to just be stuck as a revenge killer, and it's hard to get that pursuit trapping when you can't safely switch Weavile in. So yeah, I feel like Weavile is going to have some trouble taking off.
Purugly has 112 speed. Jeez, I didn't know that.
It's because no one drafts it. I mean, it looks like it's something of value because you're like, wow, that speed tier is pretty nice. But then the ultimate reality is nobody respects the speed tier.
Is this the Fire Lion Pyroar all over again?
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. It's like, yeah, that's technically the speed tier they have, but that Pokemon's not coming to a match. So do I need to actually care about the 112? And you can not and probably not be punished for it, because what's Purugly going to do with its 82 attack stat?
Yeah,
so I'm just really curious if it goes first.
Yeah, I'm not vibing on this team very much. It's probably just my bias against weather teams, which I'm never a big fan of.
I feel like Mew gets relegated to defensive role too much on this team as well, just because Enamorus I don't think is going to be. There's no Wish on this team, which I find concerning. So Enamorus as a bulky piece isn't reliable because it can't roost. You're basically counting on Vileplume to leech seed it, which isn't that reliable. It has Overcoat, so it's not bothered by sand, but it just gets whittled down because it can't get its health back reliably outside of Draining Kiss.
Like this is I appreciate some of the ideas here for the sand core to see if this will work out. I'll be most surprised if you can get some value out of Mega Aerodactyl in the sand and like to kind of shore up some of its tanky issues to let it set up safely. That's kind of what I'm more excited about. Like Dragozolt and sand is a thing, sure, but I don't know. I feel like that's abusable enough. So, I don't know. 7-8.
Yeah, 7-8, 7-5. I think
all right,
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying into the synergy of the team. That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
right
the
now.
the Weavile just banded like Ice Shard. It's just gonna be tough for it to do anything. It can't switch in. Not in this team.
No, it's basically a revenge killer. You know, especially with pursuit trapping. It's a pretty good revenge killer, but it's just you want your Weavile to be able to get more opportunities than to be just that.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Up next we have Phil's team, Living Like Larry. We have the Sneasel Hisui, Celesteela, Zygarde, Tapu Lele, Seismitoad, Arcanine, Aerodactyl, Overquill, Kabutops, Politoed, and Hisuian Decidueye. So I'm shocked Hisuian Decidueye got drafted, but I'm happy to see it anyway.
I mean, you can see there's a theme going on where he's like, well, I'm going to pick up the garbage, low-tier Hisuian Pokemon and try to make those work. Because he's got Hisuian Sneasel, who isn't going to do much, Overquill, who I think is just bad, and then Hisuian Decidueye. He is running a rain mode here, which will be interesting to see in action. Kabutops is actually very scary as a Bandedmon in rain.
So
I've run into that. Yeah, so they both pressure pretty hard. Yeah.
Steelo likes rain. Arcanine is a rare fire type that's like totally happy to play around in rain. Like he doesn't feel too nerfed by it. The Zygarde Lele is a combo I've been like kind of playing around in my head for a while that I'm really want to see play out. Like I just love the idea of it.
Yeah.
Aerodactyl's is only defog though, so that's Kabutops has spin. So
yeah,
it's kind of funny.
It has spin, but like at the same time, it doesn't really have spin. This is a team where I look at it, and the first thing I do is try to get my hazards up on turn 1, just because that's just residual damage all game, especially spikes, because other than the Celesteela,
really gets the Zygarde and Seismitoad too. Like getting chip on Zygarde like matters so much.
Absolutely.
Speed tiers are a little wonky here too. 395.
All over the place.
I don't know, man. I'm not vibing on this team very much. It's forcing the Hisuian Mons. There's gonna be some. It's for the same reasons on the last team. Like it's weather, but I'm gonna give it like a 7.51. Just to it's in that same tier, but it gets the benefit of going second.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe Steela will do. Steela could do interesting things. You know, a Kabutops unchecked pressures a lot. Lele is hard to switch in on, but he's gonna have to really play to those, and they don't get a lot of free entries. Lele doesn't get safe entry at all, which is really hard for Lele to not get safe entry without getting chip.
Like there's just there's flip turn and teleport. Like that's. Like I don't know, I'm not vibing with the team very much.
No, I mean, it's more like a 7 to me, to be honest.
All right,
I don't like it as much. I like Epix more. I can see what Epix is going for with some of the pieces. I just don't know that they all synergize well. I don't see the synergy here. But Phil plays wonky things, and Phil may prove us wrong.
Oh yeah, I mean we're all gonna be proven wrong. Okay, up next we have Wombat with the South Bend Snums, and we have the Tornadus Therian, Ursaluna, Jirachi, Keldeo, Hisuian Typhlosion, Cleavor, Toxtricity, Mega Altaria, Grimmsnarl, and Go-Go. So let's see. It's got Ursaluna, so it's a winner already in my book.
I think this team enables Ursaluna really well because the next three pieces all around Ursaluna pivot pretty reliably. Torn pivots nicely, Jirachi pivots nicely, Keldeo pivots really nicely, and then you have Toxtricity a little farther down that pivots nicely. So that's 4 reliable brings that can generate opportunities for Ursaluna to smack.
In that same vein, you know, it's also all these pivot options to get in Typhlosion and Kleavor. Because they're in the same boat of like, don't really want to get them in on the field because like Kleavor, it's got decent enough stats, but its typing leaves a bit to be desired. Like, what does it resist? Normal, poison, maybe some weird stuff. No, that's it. Like, yeah, that's bad defensive typing, but once it's in, like it can do some damage, and it's going to be a good scarfer for this team.
I see it struggling to find a niche that Ursaluna can't achieve, which is where I think Kleavor's going to run into the most issues. Well, it's like where it's like I'd like to bring Kleavor, but Ursaluna just smacks everything harder and it has an easier time taking a hit if I need it to.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth there, but you know he has it at least.
Yeah.
But you know you got some nice ways to finish games. You can set up with Toxtricity. You can set up with the Mega Altaria.
Torn can nasty plot and win. Keldeo can sub and combine. Jirachi has things it can do. Like there's a lot of different win cons to be had other than Ursaluna smacking buttons, which is good.
Yeah.
Because you need other options like that.
So, I mean, Torn setting up maybe not so much. It's kind of forced to be the defogger, or unless you really want to. Unless you like Mega Altaria defogging feels pretty bad. You only get one rocker from Jirachi.
Technically,
which is a
too.
sad.
Cleavor can rock, but
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have it.
Cleavor has stealth rocks.
Oh, does it? Okay, so
yeah,
it's got 2. It's just not.
But it's not. Yeah, well, there's no moves for the new ones in the dock. That's why they don't show.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, I guess it can, but I mean, this team smacks though. Like.
Oh, absolutely. It's hard. You know, there's a lot of pieces where you're like, oh, I don't want to give this a free turn or it's going to do a ton to me. Ursaluna with a free turn probably KO something. Toxtricity with a free turn could set up for the win con. Same with Mega Altaria. Keldeo can do a lot of things with a free turn. So, like, there are a lot of pieces you don't want to give free turns to. I don't think a couple synergize well. You know, Gogo's cool, but I don't think it does anything. Yeah. Grimmsnarl is a tough one to use, although screens into
for this
Ursaluna,
team, or screens in general for this team are really good. Like early game screens let Ursaluna get off a few more attacks. Late game screens let Toxtricity like shift gear and just like end it.
Yeah,
like once you've gotten rid of the ground types.
I wish he had a better wisher. You know, Jirachi's a suitable wisher, but Jirachi doesn't like to run wish all that often from experience. I wish he had a better wisher just so that Grimmsnarl into Ursaluna could be a multi-game kind of option where it's like, oh, okay, they did a lot in those turns, let's get him back to health and do it again. But it's more of a, I'm going to screen once, go into Ursaluna and try to knock as many things out as I can until Ursaluna goes down, which is going to work really well, I think. But it doesn't have that repeatability.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite Ursaluna team out of the 3.
I think so. I agree. I think this team really enables Ursaluna to shine. And it's not trying to make some weird trick room thing out of it. Ursaluna doesn't need that. It just needs safe entry on defensive pieces that can't withstand its firepower.
And then it
so yeah.
So I'm gonna probably score this as like an 8-7.
I like that.
Seems fine. All right. Coming up next. And this is our last team. This is the Canberra Charizards, coached by SammyCe. We have a Mega Lopunny, a Zapdos, Greninja, Heatran, Nidoqueen, Necrozma, Comfey, Dhelmise, and Lycanroc. Another 9-mon team.
I like that he took 2 of the better top-tier Mega Lopancers on this team with the Zapdos and the Necrozma and just made them his own Pokemon so that they can't stop Mega Lop. because he has them. So
Mm-hmm.
that should help Megalopony be more oppressive to deal with, because Zapdos is truly one of the best Megalop counters in the whole meta.
Yeah.
So to have that on your own team as well is just super scary.
So the Lycanroc, I can almost just like toss to the side a little bit. Is
Yeah,
this the one
I
that
think
gets
that's
a
fair.
Cellrock?
They both do. This
Okay,
one and
okay.
Duskform do. But this is
Okay.
the worst of the two that get a Cell Rock.
Yeah. I like the Greninja on this team a lot too. Like it can go both ways. You got plenty of rock options. You've got scary setup in the Necrozma.
What I find scary about this team is basically everything except for Lopunny, Dhelmise, and Lycanroc is very versatile. And Lopunny doesn't even care that it's one-dimensional. Lopunny is just a scary cleaner. It doesn't need any more dimensions than that. But everything else, it's like everything else can surprise you with what it does. Because I mean, you've done this all the time. Spec Zapdos is horrifying if you have the right situation to bring it.
Oh yeah.
It demolishes because people don't do a lot of calcs on offensive Zapdos because everyone just kind of assumes a defensive role, and so they don't have answers to that when it shows up.
Yeah. So like, you've got some scary options here, and like, because you have these other nice defensive pieces around the Nidoqueen, the Necrozma. Like Necrozma or Nido could be offensive any given week. That's pretty spooky. Scarfetran can come some weeks too.
I like Scarfetran. I'll always advocate for Scarfetran. That's a menace to deal with.
So having said all that, like there is a severe drop down as you go from Comfy to Necrozma in terms of speed tiers. Like from 100 to 79. That doesn't feel all that great.
And Lycanroc's on the wrong side of 110 as well. You like to have something in the 108 or 109 range because that can keep 110 mons honest. But you know, if Lycanroc is faster than them, then they don't care. They're not going to have to speed tie that anyway, so they can afford to run bulk. And Zapdos, you know, can surprise on offense, but sometimes people don't respect offensive Zapdos. They don't really consider it speed tier. Comfey doesn't get speed tier consideration ever because it's leaning entirely on triage. So you can sometimes actually go from like a 122 to a 79 in some matchups where they're like, yeah, none of those pieces can run speed or will run speed.
Right.
And so I can run really fat with my mons in that range.
That's kind of the biggest complaint here is these are some wonky speed tiers, but other than that, like it's got some really nice synergy.
The hazard game is scary on this team.
Yeah,
like,
you're rocking
everything gets hazards or defog.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dhelmise is a great spinner too.
Literally everything except for Lopunny either defogs or removes hazard. Or I'm sorry, either removes hazard. Lopunny. So this team is going to dominate the hazard game. It feels like.
But I think the speed tier is going to be a little rough to deal with here. That's like the big complaint. I don't know. I'm gonna probably score this as like a 8-6.
That's fine.
I love the synergy, but like the speed tier is a pretty big hang up I have for it.
Because I could see teams just being like, I got a 110, Latios. I don't think they're gonna run offensive Zapdos, so I'm just gonna run just a little bit of speed to creep past some things that are like base 79, like the Necrozma. But otherwise, I'm gonna go modest and bulky with my Latios, and that's actually pretty scary to run into. So I could see things like that where it's like, oh god, this thing is smacking for damage and it's bulky because it can run bulk. And I can see that really causing some issues for this team. But other than that, I think I like how versatile all the pieces are.
Yeah, the synergy's great.
Yeah.
The problem with like all the versatility is like its success is determined on the coach's ability to come up with interesting sets every week, which totally doable. So we'll see how that comes up. Okay, so that's going to conclude our power rankings for the Master Division. I'm going to compile these scores, and I'll make some decisions if we accidentally tied any scores. And we'll release all of those at the same time as the video when it goes live tomorrow.
Yep.
So hopefully you enjoyed this If not, well, too bad. Go make your own video, and I will watch it.
Yeah, tell us we're wrong. Make your own analysis. We'll even let you post it in the CLDL content if you actually want to go through the effort to do it. But I think these are pretty fair assessments of most of the teams. We identified issues we see with them. It doesn't matter at the end of the day if the coach knows how to play the pieces they have and their play style vibes with the pieces they drafted.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's my disclaimer for Disciple as well that I posted that, like, you know, all these are solid teams, but I don't think the perfect draft team exists.
No.
So
it's just a matter of what teams are well suited to execute their win cons, and does the coach know how to play to those with the team they drafted. And
exactly.
Some of that's dependent on coaches, which we've not seen play, or we have very limited sample sizes of them playing. So we may be very wrong. I mean, we've run into this issue in other leagues where we think a coach drafted an absolutely horrendous team and then they just dominate the whole season anyway. So prove us wrong if you think if we misassessed you. These are, you know, based off of our experiences and our opinions, which are always bad and always wrong.
Absolutely. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and close out the video there. So thank you all for watching. Once again, I've been Dr. Geo. With me is
P McGee,
and we will catch you all later.